to another very special edition of the Know Your Pharmacist Livestream. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Joaquin Acosta, CEO of PharmTrue, and tonight we're embarking on another thrilling journey through the ever-evolving world of healthcare, technology, and community engagement. Are you curious about the connection between PPI or proton pump inhibitor use and dementia risk? We're going to be diving deep into the latest research there, unraveling some mysteries that could, potentially revolutionize our understanding there of mental health and aging, right? In our Tech Talk segment, we're going to be exploring the cutting edge AI solutions transforming healthcare as we know it. Prepare to be amazed by the innovations that are bringing personalized care to new heights. Ever wondered about the benefits of CBG? Our Herbal Wellness Corner, sponsored by High Horse, will enlighten you on the fascinating compound and, much to learn still and its potential to enhance well-being and everything else. So again, guys, for our community enthusiasts, get ready for an adrenaline pumping spotlight on Vado Speedway Park's Kids Bike Night. It's going to be fun. It's going to be full of excitement races. There's going to be 131 bikes given away, and we'll hype that up a little later. So family fun to all kids in the area. Again, after we get through all that, guys, we're going to be exploring, learning, and growing guided by our shared passion for knowledge, compassion, and innovation. So whether you're a healthcare professional, a tech enthusiast, or someone just seeking to improve your life, this show is tailored just for you. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in and join me, Dr. Joaquin Acosta. We got the late night out for you tonight. We're feeling a little, Anyways, we're going to embark on another unforgettable evening, guys. Your journey to a greater understanding and a more enlightened society starts right here, right now on the Know Your Pharmacist live stream, and we will make this the best one yet. Excellent, guys. So check this out. PPI use and dementia risk. Who knows what PPIs are? Proton pump inhibitors. So, perhaps you've heard of the medication, Prilosec or omeprazole. That is a proton pump inhibitor, correct? So for those of you who know these medications, you probably either know them by being on them, and if you've been on them, you may have been on them for a long time, or you may be on them for a long time. You know what I mean? So exactly what are proton pump inhibitors? To give everybody the backstory, again, they are a class of medications. So medications do get, grouped by particular class. Proton pump inhibitors all have the same mechanism of action, right, guys? They block that proton pump in the stomach. Those glands from the stomach cannot create acid, and usually they form more acid in response to correct eating. So, proton pump inhibitors thus reduce the amount of stomach acid that way. However, recent studies, and this is not the first time that proton pump inhibitors have, come to question, right? What exactly are proton pump inhibitors, being researched as side effects and causing, guys? Well, dementia here right now is the connection that, is recently coming out and being talked about. Again, the American Pharmacist Association is now getting onto this because, guys, back even in, let's say 2016, even the Mayo Clinic back then was actually kind of wanting to help show how to weigh the risk and the benefit, of omeprazole. And so I'll give you a little bit a backstory on that, right? Because studies were coming out about, omeprazole back then about, hey, well, what could be happening with dementia? Back in 2016, Dr. Ken DeVault, the Mayo Clinic gastroenterologist and president of the American College of Gastroenterology, he commented on this back in 2016. We appreciate and respect the data in the study, but believe more research is needed to understand the impact of PPIs on cognitive function, especially since studies of this type do not control for diet or lifestyle factors, nor do they establish causation. So, correct. Basically, yes, the, Mayo Clinic, and whether or not he was speaking on behalf of them, he endorsed the use of proton pump inhibitors in a risk-benefit measurement, and more so favoring benefit over risk when it comes to things like dementia, because at then he did not have the data there that he liked. right? So back then, and still, which is the case, if a patient has been treated for a long time, they should talk to their healthcare provider before stopping or changing the dose of these medications. So, right, guys, proton pump inhibitors, Prilosec OTC, Nexium, Prevacid, things you see over the counter, omeprazole, lansoprazole, esomeprazole. Proton pump inhibitors turn off the proton pump in the stomach. The proton pump in the stomach sends out, yes, protons, right? So pumping out protons create an acidic charge. Acidic charge equals heartburn when you eat. So again, just kind of weighing out what that data could be now from what it was back in 2016. So let's look at the new, thing that came out here recently reviewed from the American Pharmacist Association. And, guys, as pharmacists, we are absolutely 110% like advocates for patient safety, top line medical knowledge. Not one study can ever be, the gold study. There is a lot of supporting studies that do create, everything that goes into therapy and recommendations and things like that. So again, this one is just kind of following up, but here looking at a, prolonged use study of 5,712 older adults who were dementia-free at baseline. This thing here, so here we go. Basically, the studies and the research reported that proton pump inhibitor use for greater than 4.4 years had a higher risk of dementia compared to those with no proton pump inhibitor use. So this study placed them in 4 groups. Those not using proton pump inhibitors for up to 2.8 years, those using them for 2.8 to 4.4 years, and those using them for more than 4.4 years. So overall, 14,090 participants used proton pump inhibitors, ranging from a minimum cumulative use of 112 days to a maximum use of 20.3 years, median use 3.8 years, average use 4.4 years. So over a median of 5.5 years, 585 people out of the 5,712 people developed dementia. Only the participants who used proton pump inhibitors for more than 4.4 cumulative years prior to visit 5 had a higher risk of developing dementia compared with those not using PPIs. So there we go. Thank you, Marcy. Been on Nexium for 25 years, trying to get off slowly now. Changing my diet was a game changer. Exactly. Like, you don't want to just make a quick switch based off of a study or anything like that. But when you do look at some of these other recommendations for aging and things like that, can you perhaps do a little bit of lifestyle and diet modifications to, achieve some of these same results without having to take so many proton pump inhibitors, which may be exacerbating your risk for dementia? And granted, the study does show correctly, or, the study does show, exposure to proton pump inhibitors were associated with greater dementia risk than the histamine 2 receptor agonist. So, right, like ranitidine, and I know that got taken off the market, famotidine. So those have less risk of, developing dementia than your proton pump inhibitors. But again, the proton pump inhibitors are really easy to get on and stay on. It's easy to be on for years. You know what I mean? And, it's a question worth talking to your doctor about and weighing the risk benefit of how the whole thing works. So I'm going to show you guys here a little bit of a video about, weighing that risk benefit. So let me share this here.
Effects, including, as recent studies have noted, possible links to chronic kidney disease and dementia.
A large number of Americans are taking proton pump inhibitors. It's probably 10% or more. A significant portion of those might be able to be managed with a less aggressive treatment.
Mayo Clinic gastroenterologist Dr. Ken DeVault says the question, do I really need a proton pump inhibitor, is best answered during a discussion with your healthcare provider.
What I won't do is take it away from a patient who really needs it.
But Dr. DeVault says he will ask important questions like, could you relieve symptoms with a lower dose of your current drug? Could you use a different, less powerful drug? Or could you change something in your diet to eliminate the need for a heartburn drug?
Some patients can take control of their disease themselves and control it through lifestyle changes.
For others, the proton pump inhibitor will continue to be the best way to beat the burn. For the Mayo Clinic News Network, I'm Jeff Olson. For millions of people, proton pump...
I think you guys see that there. Pretty interesting idea, and the concept is really just the same of, hey, well, can we reduce doses for proton pump inhibitors, especially for those who are aging, and then really just kind of, being cognizant of the, other ripple effects of, shoot, well, you might be on a proton pump inhibitor because of your diet, really, really creating a gastric or acid response in your gastric region, right? And so is there something that you can do to perhaps change that? What other effects may your diet or lifestyle that requires you needing to take it, perhaps have other compounding effects. So all the things that are just worth kind of keeping in mind. And again, advice from the Mayo Clinic still kind of rings true, and the studies are going to continue to keep coming out. And guys, I think, statins are the other one that come up as a question for, hey, is this causing dementia? And then you really start looking at, right, risk benefit of, a statin really lowering the cardiovascular risk of having a cardiovascular event over, 5-10 years or a lifetime. And you start weighing that with the possibility of dementia, right? The data kind of does favor it when you look at it specifically through that lens, that preventing a cardiovascular event, with proof is much better than, sending somebody off into the exile of dementia without proof, if that makes any type of sense. And those are the kind of ways that you have to, your doctor will help weigh that risk benefit with you. So pretty much that's, it's dinner time right now, guys. Everybody's eating. I know heartburn's a thing. What other things could you take besides PPIs, right? I'm sure everybody knows the classic Tums, right? Or the H2 blockers. So famotidine, Pepcid. They even have famotidine and Tums combos. Those are, much better situations there, especially over time. But everybody definitely has different methods there. Some people, milk even works when it comes as a proton pump, not a proton pump inhibitor, but, an acid reducer. So the things that we can or cannot adjust and control can be oftentimes thought of with some introspection and a little bit of conversation with your healthcare provider. And, what else can we do at 6 p.m. in the evening to then try to beef up everybody's healthcare? Let's do that. That's what we're here for. So cool. Pharmacist Frontline segment, guys, finishing that one up. Just wanted to thank our segment sponsor there, celebrating PharmTrue, our esteemed sponsor of the Pharmacist Frontline segment. PharmTrue is more than just a pharmacy. It's a beacon of innovation and quality, providing pharmacist-formulated cannabis products since 2019. With a commitment to education and trusted, safe, well-designed solutions, PharmTrue is empowering wellness through community-driven healthcare. Join them in their journey towards a healthier future, backed by science and nature. Visit PharmTrue's website and be part of the revolutionary movement today. Cool. So moving on, guys, Tech Talk segment, we are talking a little bit of AI in healthcare, but not maybe the AI in healthcare that you may be necessarily thinking, right? So I'm looking at this launch here from this company called Innovaccer, and it's spelled Innovaccer. And I don't believe it's Innovaccer, okay? So again, they just launched what's called Sarah, and it's AI assistance across 4 different AI platforms. And what I think this is actually pretty cool about it is kind of the range that this thing has. And so, I granted, I don't know pricing or anything like that, and I'm not telling anybody to go out and buy new technology by any means. And this is kind of more towards, healthcare business owners to some of that degree, and maybe, that's probably most of that. But check this out. So these are things, patients, as you can look forward to your healthcare being streamlined, right? Look at the things that could really help, right? If you had all of your, hospital or your facilities medical data, and you could have an AI look at the insights of the medical data, right, that help correct, help your teams do whatever it is that you have to do. So they've got a Sarah for insights. And we'll show you guys a little cool video of this Sarah kind of demo here. But basically kind of just giving you the overview. It's an AI assistant to some degree, almost a chat bot that's integrated with your healthcare platform, whatever that might be, and it can help kind of with these things. So, right, that's kind of your administrative insights that you can really try kind of drive business and or other things there. For care management, this is pretty cool. It says it's going to help care coordinators spend more time with patients by assisting them with documentation and care planning. It estimates that Sarah's time and cost savings will save coordinators about 10 hours a week and allow them to engage with 35% or more patients, making them 50% more efficient at their job. So really, I mean, again, when you guys think about the fears of AI in healthcare, granted, there are things to be concerned about, but then where you really look at the other side of, hey, is this really going to help increase access where access is really needed? That's awesome. Like, you can actually have care coordinators spending less time doing that sort of administrative work that's streamlined by correct AI that's already integrated within your system. That's building on top of other stuff. So again, Sarah for point of care helps clinicians reduce administrative and documentative burden associated with electronic health records, giving them more face time with patients. So again, more than 10 hours a week from clinicians literally just doing, documentation and things like that. So where is it really, getting those clinical notes and everything taken care of, guys? I mean, doctors, I'm sure you guys are absolutely ready to, have a scribe available at all times. And I think that would be just much better healthcare. I don't think especially even in our region, medical scribes are not, always there. And for what that could actually mean in the way that care is coordinated, correct, probably is not as enhanced. And we can get into studies and data on that later. But again, I'm just thinking this is pretty cool, and I want to show you guys just some of that stuff. So looking at this right here, I'm going to throw this little video up. Check this thing out.
That data is trying to tell you, and bring it up to the people who are making decisions based on that data. So what I'm going to show you is how an executive or another leader inside of an organization can ask questions of the data in natural language and get the answers that they need to do their business.
Okay, Jimmy, take it away.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. What you're going to see here is a quick look at how Sarah can actually help leadership and healthcare organizations to find the answers to their most pressing questions without having to go to a SQL engineer who's going to have to spend weeks building this query.
Somebody doing this.
So, the first thing that you'll notice here is that we are going to ask a question of Sarah. And in this case, we want to say, hey, Sarah, show me the per member per month cost for 2021. The per member per month cost is $922. But maybe we want to get a little bit more specific. Maybe I'd like to learn a little bit more about a particular service line or category of patients. So I'm going to refine that question just a little bit more. I'm going to say, Sarah, you know what? Tell me a little bit more about line of business. When we break this down by Medicare and Medicaid, what you're going to see is that number actually shifts pretty dramatically.
Pretty crazy.
And we might want to take an even deeper look here. So we can see for Medicare, we're at $1,215 per member per month, whereas for Medicaid, we're only at $822. Let's see if we can slice that a little bit more finely to get some answers that will help us to make decisions in our business day to day. I'm going to ask another question. Let's go ahead and limit this to Medicare patients with risk score greater than 1.2.
Let's look at a little something else. Watch, like.
Jimmy, really interesting. I wanted to follow up on and showing this at the booth over the
with these types of when But honestly, there's
That's right.
all kinds of questions that we see here. It's, can it help me with these types of questions that I might be asking? How can it help me solve for specific queries that I might want to run? But really, as I say, the biggest is, when can I get this? There's really quite a bit of interest in this particular solution.
So again, highlighting this thing, and there's going to be an abundant amount, guys, of data processing techniques, especially for healthcare and everything else. But what I'm saying really is that how that could be used and how people really approach that is really continuing to develop, because you can go to a big staff meeting in a big organization and suggest that your IT is going to have you these reports ready to go. Well, again, where these things have to get built over really private networks and really careful things. It's really cool to see that there's an AI integrated solution, excuse me, not the word thing, but solution that is already in there to integrate with your electronic health record systems, help taking the burden off of everybody and streamlining the patient experience. That kind of technology, guys, is literally what's going to just boom, take this whole thing into the entire next realm. So very exciting, very good stuff. I'm gonna move on to the next segment, guys. We're gonna be talking about little concept we went over here a little bit in this live stream, but talking about stress and talking about the Stanford Mind Body Lab. And guys, they have research in the Stanford Mind Body Lab regarding how stress is perceived and what that actually means to outcomes in your life, in your reality, right? Such and such, so on and so forth, right? So I kind of wanted to give you guys just a little bit of a quick video about this, and I think it's pretty cool. So the Rethink stress intervention, and I'm going to share this link here in the chat for you guys. And I'm sorry, IG, again, that you guys don't see this, but just so everybody else can have access to it immediately. So basically, guys, if you look at this material, the intervention, you can do it different ways. There's a Rethink Stress e-training, which is an hour-long online course split into 6 modules that discuss the nature of stress, the power of mindsets and strategies for adopting more beneficial mindsets towards stress. And then there's also a stress mindset measure and other questionnaires assessing the relevant psychological variables. So that's all in there. You can do the e-training. You can do the e-training videos without the reflection questions in the questionnaires there. So again, that should be in the chat comments for you guys to look at if you really wanted to kind of dive deep into this. I'm wanting to get into just, enlightening you guys about how stress really can help to enhance we can turn stress into an enhancing thing versus a debilitating thing. And that to be able to train the mind on it is definitely difficult, but how can you look at the science of that? How can you try to get that whole thing figured out? Well, there's entire amounts of videos and steps in this entire Stanford Mind Body Lab Rethink Stress Intervention link that's presented. So we will go through just a quick little video in there that I thought was powerful. It talked about one of the studies there, but where you can really look at rethinking stress and what to do to stimulate the brain to make that happen, right? I just want to show about kind of a study here. So for some people that listen to these live streams and stuff definitely want to make sure that those studies are backed and cited in there. And guys, I'm telling you, they are. Once every single show note gets completely populated, everything's going to be cited for you guys to take looks at. And I understand the objective views on studies and things like that. But again, I like to align with top educators, top institutions. I'm telling you guys, Stanford Mind Body Lab is not just, something that some sort of research that you pull off the street. So again, this is actually meaningful stuff. And I'm gonna put this on the screen. So,
Ali Crum and Peter Salovey from Yale University and Sean Aker from Harvard led a study that showed that a stress is enhancing mindset can significantly change performance and health outcomes in employees who are experiencing high-stress work environments. They conducted this study at a prominent investment bank in the midst of the financial crisis in 2010. The company had already had several rounds of layoffs, and another 10% layoff had been announced prior to the start of the study. This resulted in stressful conditions for the employees, such as financial and job insecurity, increased workload, and reduced support. 388 employees recruited for the study were placed in 3 experimental groups. 2 of the groups watched a series of 3 short videos over 2 weeks. Each video was based on factual research and real-life examples, but differed dramatically in the messages they conveyed. One set taught that stress is debilitating, and the other that stress is enhancing. All of the videos shown to the debilitating group, for example, ended with the statement, "Stress is negative and should be avoided," while the videos for the enhancing group ended with the statement, "Stress is enhancing and should be utilized." The third group was a control group who didn't watch any videos. Those in the enhancing group had a more stress is enhancing mindset. Those in the debilitating group had a more stress is debilitating mindset, and a control group had no change. In terms of health outcomes, the stress is enhancing mindset group had a statistically significant reduction in stress-related symptoms such as headaches, muscle tension, insomnia, hypertension, etc., while the debilitating and control group showed no statistical reduction. Work performance was likewise significantly increased. Both hard skills, such as the quality, quantity, efficiency, and accuracy of their work, and soft skills, including new ideas, focus, engagement, and level of collaboration, were evaluated and showed statistically significant increases, while the debilitating and control groups showed no statistical improvement. This study was published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in the spring of 2013. In a separate follow-up study with 239 employees at the same investment bank, the researchers evaluated the effects of an in-person training on stress mindset, performance, and stress-related symptoms. One group, the training group, took a series of assessments a week before they were given training, and again 3 weeks after the training. The control group was given the same assessments at the same time, but didn't receive the training. Participants who received the training reported stronger stress-enhancing mindsets, which generated statistically significant reductions in physical symptoms, greater overall satisfaction with their health, and better soft skill performances such as new ideas, focus, engagement, and collaboration. Together, these 2 studies show that changing your mindset about stress can enable you to reduce the negative effects of stress on your health and improve your performance at work. The Rethink Stress program provides the videos used in the first study and the essential elements of the in-person training used in the second study. Each is optimized for online viewing. The Rethink Stress training can change your mindset about stress, help you improve your health, and most importantly, utilize your stress to increase your success at work and in other parts of your life.
So I think you guys kind of see what I was getting at there. Very cool stuff. So those interventions are already out and they are available. They are public knowledge, guys. So just sharing that and passing that along to anybody who might find it useful. Rethinking stress, retraining the mind on what exactly how to perceive it, and really knowing statistical significant benefits of, being able to retrain the mind on stress and use it as an enhancing versus a debilitating, thing. It's very powerful. So all stuff, Enlightenment Hour, very important. So guys, moving on to actually the next segment. We are going to be moving on to our Herbal Wellness Corner, sponsored by High Horse Cannabis Company, the trailblazers of the cannabis industry and proud sponsors of our Herbal Wellness Corner. determined to write history and not just read about it. They've got dispensaries in Chaparral, on Valley Drive, on North Main Street, and soon to be in Hobbs, New Mexico. High Horse is your go-to destination for quality cannabis products, committed to professionalism, respect, and helping people. High Horse is changing lives for the better. Visit one of their locations and experience the High Horse difference. Check out High Horse's website and discover the future of cannabis in our local area today. Thank you. Cool. So guys, moving on. CBG. What the heck is CBG? So again, C as in cat, B as in boy, G as in girl. And guys, we look at the different phytocannabinoids that are already pushed. There's over 200 phytocannabinoids. There's different acidic derivatives, everything. Mainly the world knows about THC and CBD, and that is just about it. THCV, THCA, all that. CBG included are not, well researched and not well known. So let's talk about it, because again, guys, we're talking about this in just normal work life. We have Farm True. We have a product called a 1-to-1-to-1, CBD, THC, CBG gummy. And this gummy is not well understood, which is interesting. So, I think it's a very interesting concept, because in a world where people are already getting slightly, not burned out by any means with THC and CBD, but it can only be so much of what it is already that, hey, what the heck is CBG and why is that in there? The more that we're getting to here is the entourage effect, guys. And correct, the entourage effect being all the phytocannabinoids, flavonoids, terpenes in the plant that could really, be in one phenotypical expression dosed, therapeutically. And because we don't know that perfect, balance yet or recipe yet by any means, we have got it to a pretty isolated point of breeding plants for primarily one phytocannabinoid, such as THC or such as CBD, right? So how do these other phytocannabinoids present themselves? Well, it's a breakdown process. So even things like ultraviolet light helps to create that degradation process in the flower portion of the plant, right? So that bud, where you see the finger-like cannabis leaves, that is not what you smoke. That is not what contains the phytocannabinoid rich, right, media there. So it's not in that. It's actually in that flower, right, on the main stalk. That is your best, most, rich phytocannabinoid flower in the entire plant. And that's how it's always going to be, and that's how it is. And so everything that comes off of that does have different, every flower, otherwise is going to have different levels of whatever phytocannabinoids that they have. And again, THC being the main one that is bred for, CBD more recently. And where does CBG fall in the mix? Well, CBG is actually, maybe people have heard this, the mother of the cannabinoids. So what does that mean? When the bud is fully starting to flower and become expressing itself, everything actually technically has to start at CBG. So in that maturation process, as the phytocannabinoids do come out, it becomes CBG, right? And that CBG within those trichomes continues to get broken down, by ultraviolet light, by phenotypical expression, however that might be, to become whatever other phytocannabinoids that plant is. So again, CBG being the mother phytocannabinoid is a interesting phytocannabinoid. It doesn't cause psychoactive effects, being the euphoria or the high by any means. So a very interesting thing there, because hey, well, you've got psychoactive effects happening with THC. I guess CBD is technically psychoactive, but right, it doesn't have any of those euphoric symptoms or anything like that. It does have activity in the brain, but it's not going to have those psychoactive effects. And again, CBG is the same, right? And so what is CBG? How does it work? So CBG is actually a partial agonist at both the CB1 and CB2 receptors, right? Exactly how it interacts with the receptors and how it interacts with those receptors in the presence of other phytocannabinoids is already not well known. So things that we found with like our, for instance, 1-to-1-to-1 CBD, CBG, THC product, that it does create some real heavy sedation. Well, the CBG and the THC at that point then start to compete for the CB1 receptor. And what happens when that competition is happening with the most abundant G protein coupled receptor in the mammalian brain again? So millions of receptors in this brain that are being competed for differently than just THC alone. There's, now a shark and, another predator in there to some degree. Even though the shark, the THC is going to hit that CB1 receptor and hit, more lock and key. And then the CBG is going to come in there and affect the way that lock and key works, as well as the THC. And by the receptors that get occupied or not also exhibit, right, different effects, perhaps, right? What does that even mean? Because CBG, right, has different actions on different receptors, serotonin receptors, GABA receptors, right? So does CBD. CBD has all kinds of action in inflammatory markers and receptors. So where the expression of things can change one way or another, that is, still up for grabs. But, right, what is CBG? Just to give you guys the full, kind of, study, kind of what is it with some studies and everything like that, right? Check this out. So THC, correct, we already know is the most popular abundant phytocannabinoid on the planet right now. But CBG, actually, before it turns into the trichomes, is actually produced, right away. So as the plant is developing those trichomes, CBG is right there in the bud of it all, no pun intended. So again, CBG and what does it do? Showing and promoting anti-inflammatory effects, perhaps powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Euphoria is not something that has currently been associated with CBG. So again, it doesn't bind the way THC does to, CB1 receptors. So it's, pretty non-psychoactive to however people want to define the word psychoactivity. But again, what could CBG do as a serotonin receptor, blocker? Well, it can help, increase the production of serotonin levels. A selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor is what's called an SSRI, such as Prozac. Where can CBG have a effect on the amount of serotonin in the brain, over a drug like Prozac? Not necessarily all fully, understood as well. So it has, effects on the PPAR receptors, which are also inflammatory receptors known as the nuclear receptors. So that's, that activation of those receptors leads to an increase in the number of new neurons created in the hippocampus, a region of the brain involved in memory and learning. Additionally, PPAR activation has been shown to improve the function of existing neurons, making them more efficient at transmitting signals. So again, no big claim that you're hearing from me that CBG is going to repair anything in the brain to, reverse aging or dementia or memory or, whatever genetic deformities or whatever that could be. So no, we're not at that point. But is there activity going on in the brain with CBG? Absolutely. Does it show studies through improved mood? Does it show antimicrobial, antibacterial effects there? Yes. Does it show anti-inflammatory effects there? Yes. Interestingly enough, that antibacterial properties of CBG, a recent study had shown that CBG was effective against MRSA, right? MRSA is resistant to a lot of different antibiotics, and MRSA is literally, right, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. So again, it's been developed because, of, penicillin, right? So or methicillin. So again, guys, interesting at what that could be. Don't just go to CBG and say, hey, I've got an infection, I'm going to put this on there. That's not that. But where you can look at inflammation, and you already know that you've got inflammation effects, positive, anti-inflammatory effects from CBD, and you add that in with CBG, you're already really going to see a synergy there that may not be well understood, but is very good. And right, it does take extraordinarily high doses of CBD to affect the liver. Can it? Yeah, it can affect, right, your cytochrome P450 system. It can affect the way that you take your drugs and the way the drugs are metabolized in the body. So just like CBD and CBG and THC can all do that with different drugs, they can all do that with each other. And, to the degree of the entourage effect, you do want to be phytocannabinoid rich with your, formulations. And to those degrees, our 1-to-1-to-1 does bring a lot of, good positive questions and positive feedback. And I like to see the different effects, and I like to see how people use it. So again, Herbal Wellness Corner, thank you very much. Talking about CBG, I think you guys kind of get it there. My farmies, we got CBG and the structural type of CBG versus everything else. We can get into that. We can get into the biosynthesis of it all and the everything. But, that's not the episode of today. It's just to give the general overview of still a rather new, right, phytocannabinoid into the game. THC is the least new, but it's still really new. We still need a lot of research. So cool. Community Spotlight, guys. We are going to be highlighting Vado Speedway Park this weekend, guys. Catch us over there. It's going to be very exciting. Join us for an unforgettable event. It's going to be an evening of family fun at Vado Speedway Park, August 26th, Kids Bike Night. You know what that means? Kids that come to Vado Speedway Park to watch the awesome dirt track racing, which is already a treat in and of itself, are automatically entered in the bike raffle. 131 bikes are going to be given away, guys. Vado Speedway Park, got a bunch of bike sponsors, which are going to be highlighted. And, I think that's such a cool thing between the entire community to have, youth with that opportunity to get a new bike, right? What does that bike mean to you when you were a kid? Did it give you that a little bit more independence than you may have ever had in your life? Bikes are pretty cool, right? Bikes give you, confidence. Bikes teach lessons. There's nothing like a couple wheels and, some metal between it, because, right, you learn a lot of physics, you learn a lot of things already, how to balance your body, have some transportation that is not hurting the environment by any means, learn some new skills, get some exercise along the way. So Vado Speedway Park Community Spotlight, shout out to them, guys. Catch us over there. We're gonna be giving away 131 bikes. All you got to do is bring somebody from the youth with you, and they will be entered. So again, whether it's your kids, your class, your team, bring the kids. It's going to be awesome, and get your chance to cop some bikes. Make sure that you also bring a vehicle that is able to take the bikes home as well. No leaving them there. Anyways, excellent. Moving on, guys. Men's Health Minute. This one, Men's Health Minute, you guys already know, brought to you guys by Vado Speedway Park. And again, I'm sorry, the Community Spotlight, I gotta shout out our sponsor for that. So Community Spotlight, special shout out to the Trichome Alliance, our harmonious sponsor for the Community Spotlight. Again, as we highlighted Vado Speedway Park just now, join the Trichome Alliance at the Butt Cancer Gala on September 21st, 2023. It's a Thursday at Amador Live for an unforgettable Italian-style dinner and play. Early bird tickets are $65 before August 31st and then $75 thereafter. A password will be given to enter this exclusive gala, which is going to be a pretty unique experience in New Mexico. So again, support the mission of advocacy, education, and community connections. Get your tickets at the Trichome Alliance's website. Find it on our Facebook event, and be a part of the extraordinary event. It's going to be awesome. So moving on to the last segment, guys, prostate cancer and what you need to know for our Men's Health Minute, guys. 3 things you need to know about prostate cancer. And before we get into that, I'm going to read, our awesome last advertisement here. Last but not least, ignite your excitement for Vado Speedway Park, our thrilling sponsor for the Men's Health Minute. Feel the rush of adrenaline with thrilling races, and join me, Dr. Joaquin Acosta, your color commentator at Vado Speedway Park, whether you're a racing fan or seeking a weekend thrill. Vado Speedway Park delivers unmatched excitement. Visit Vado Speedway Park's website today to fuel your passion for speed and get those tickets online ahead of time. Running those weekly racing series, it is a blast. Cool. Guys, 3 things you need to know about prostate cancer. And our community is primarily Hispanic, but one thing to know, Black men are at a higher rate of, higher risk of getting, prostate cancer. So again, the risk of prostate cancer in a man's lifetime in the United States is 1 out of 8. Men with the greater risk than that are men who have male blood relatives who have had prostate cancer, and Black men, even those who did not have relatives with prostate cancer. So the risk of prostate cancer diagnosis in the lifetime of a Black man is 1 in 6. Black men's risk of dying from prostate cancer is twice of that as a white man. So again, big reason why, Black men and men with a family history of prostate cancer should begin cancer screening at age 45, while men of other races, with low to moderate risk really need to start screening by the age of 50. So again, what do the screening options really look like? Because, and what does that outcomes even mean? Because for what you've heard about prostate cancer, slow growing, oftentimes has no symptoms, can be undetected for a long time, right? Until it's advanced. And again, you can get that PSA test. It's a blood test, screening for the prostate, measuring the amount of the PSA protein in the blood. Men, with higher PSA levels can have prostate cancer, but there are other things like a UTI or, age or enlarged prostate that can, lead to an elevated PSA. So again, the elevated PSA can show a early stage of prostate cancer, right? So what does that mean? Do you need treatment always if you do get prostate cancer? No, you may not. The treatment options aren't always there. So sometimes, non-treatment is the best option. Sometimes treatment includes, removing the prostate gland or completely, doing some radiation therapy. So again, there's what's called active surveillance when it comes to prostate cancer. It's a care strategy where cancer is monitored carefully to delay or avoid treatment in people who don't need the treatment right away. So again, the active surveillance, taking a man who has a very treatable, potentially curable type of prostate cancer and holding off the risks and potential harms of treatment, because research has taught us that with the information that we can get from the biopsy and other tests, that most men with that type of cancer can be followed for years without ever having any progression of the disease. So again, what that's saying is, the prostate cancer really does stay in the prostate for a really, really long time without causing any other risk. So where that could be monitored or measured, guys, that's up to you and the doctor. But again, if you are at risk for prostate cancer, being you're, of the age of 45 and African American, or right, you've had familial history of prostate cancer, you need to be getting checked and surveilled, earlier than later. Earlier means the age of 45. And that's our Men's Health Minute, guys. I think, that covers just about most of it. That's been a great show, guys. And, that's great. So everybody have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.